So from the last set of videos, we were showing how to use slope-intercept form. Now, if we were given an equation that was written in the form y equals mx plus b, which this equation is, we can use slope-intercept form to use a graphing shortcut to make a graph in a table much faster than we would otherwise. To review what that is, our slope is going to be -2 for this equation, and we want to write that as the fraction -2 over 1. And our b value, or our y-intercept, is +1 here, or the ordered pair 0, 1. Now to graph this is actually very fast. We go to 0, 1, which is right here, and then we use our slope, which is -2, +1, to graph the next set of points. The really nice part about this is that graphing becomes incredibly fast and efficient. But the negative part comes down to what if we weren't given something that worked into the right form? What if our equation wasn't in y equals form? And if you're asking that question, you have come to the right place, because we are going to be learning what to do with equations like at the top. What if I'm given something like positive 2x minus 2y is equal to -4? Now, if you're given this form, what you have to do is you have to convert it into y equals. And so we are going to solve this equation for y. The problem, though, is because we have an x and a y, we cannot have an answer of x equals 3 or y equals 2. Our answer has to be a different equation. And this is the mistake that many people are going to make. What I have to do is I look at this number, the two x's, because we want the y to stay on this side of the equation. We are going to subtract two x's from both sides. Now, right here is the step that everybody messes up. When you see 4 and -2x, this is not equal to 2x, because these are not 4 x's. This ends up being moving the x's up and to the right. So we get 4 minus 2x, or you always want to write the x first if you can for simplicity, just -2x plus 4. If you have trouble remembering this, I like to remember this as girls and boys at a dance. These are some girls at the dance. These are some boys at the dance. They should not be touching at all. No touching at all. Therefore, they can stand next to each other, but absolutely no touching. If you come and tell me that when you have numbers and x's are like boys and girls at a dance, I will give you candy or SPs. Now, for serious sake, what this actually means is that you have your x's and your numbers on the right side of the equation, and on the left side, we still have -2y. Now, in order to get y by itself, we are going to divide every term in the equation by -2. Now, -2 divided by -2 is 1y, or just y equals. -2x divided by -2 becomes +1x, and +4 divided by -2 becomes -2. And now we have slope-intercept form, just like we've been doing before. Our m is now 1. Our b is now -2, or 0, -2. And our slope would be 1 over 1. We go to our line, and we go 0, -2, and then up 1 over 1. And we can do that as many times as we want before we're ready to make our line. Whoops. Kind of messed up that little corner there. That's okay. And there's our line. Now, if you were given the equation 2x minus 2y equals 4, and you had to make a table or a line, that would take quite a bit of time. But if you can master this process, you can go directly to the line much quicker. But this is a hard process to master, so we're going to take our time. For this equation, once again, we do not have it in y equals form. Therefore, we have to solve for y. So just like we did before, we are going to subtract 4x. Whoops, sorry about that. We are going to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So on the left side, we just have negative 6y. And on the right side, this is once again, boys and girls at a dance. They can stand next to each other, but no touching. So I'm going to do negative 4x plus 3. Now the math teacher way here is that x's and regular numbers are not the same, therefore they can't mix. Now we have to divide to solve our problem. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6, which means I have to divide every term by negative 6. So what I end up getting on the left side is positive y, or y equals. And on this side, negative 4 divided by negative 6 simplifies to positive 2/3 x. I know that because I can divide the numerator and denominator by a negative 2. This part's a little bit trickier. 3 divided by negative 6, that's negative 1/2. Now, this is where it's really important to identify that if we put stuff into slope-intercept form, it is a lot easier to work with, but it still can be pretty tricky. From here, our slope is 2/3, and our b value is negative 1/2, or 0, negative 1/2. So, now we have to be careful. Our b value is 0, negative 1/2, which goes right there, halfway between 0 and negative 1. And now our slope is 2/3. So I have to go up 2 from here. So that's 1, that's 2, and now I jump 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3, which is right here. Once again, I can go up 2, so 1, 2, and I go 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. If I wanted to go in the opposite direction, I would go down 2, 1, 2, and back 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's do it one more time. Down 2 and left 3. And from here, I can finally draw my line. Now, you're probably looking and go, man, that is really tough. But what I would ask you is this method going to be harder than if you had to make a straight table and solve for y every time? And I would argue that making the table would not only take a long time, it would also end up being more difficult because you'd have to work with these fractions repeatedly instead of working with them just once. Let's do one more. Once again, y is not by itself, so we have to draw our line down our equal sign and do the process we've been learning in this whole video. The opposite of negative 3x is going to be positive 3x. And we're going to add 3x's to both sides of the equation. So we get negative 2y is equal to, once again, boys and girls at a dance, so 3x plus 4, because this is a positive 4. Now we need to divide every term by negative 2. So I get y equals, and there's a lot of ways you can write this. You could write this as negative 3 over 2x. You could write it as 3 divided by negative 2x, same thing. Or you could put the negative out front, because that negative can go either of those 3 places. Positive 4 divided by negative 2 is minus 2. And now we have it in the right form. Our slope is negative 3/2. And our b value is negative 2, or 0, negative 2. And we can finally graph our line. So we get here. And then we're going to go down 3 and over 2. So rise negative 3, and we're going to run 2. We ran out of here, so we're going to go up 3 and back 2. Up 3 and back 2. And let's do it one more time. And we have our line. If we wanted to make a table of values, we could just pick any of the ordered pairs that we plucked off here. But that is converting to slope-intercept form and then using y equals mx plus b, hoofda, to graph your line. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you don't score a 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 on this video, make sure you do the video retake.